Happy Tuesday out there, Team 42. It's your skipper here, Darius to present our macro minute for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. As always, we'll start with the executive summary from today's leadoff running note. If you would like to review the analysis supporting these conclusions, as well as what specific changes you need to make in your portfolio to remain on the right side of market risk, you need to be a client of 42 Macro. So today's key macro questions are, will September retail sales support a 50 basis point rate cut by the Fed tomorrow? And will the ECB be forced to accelerate policy normalization? Our answers are the August retail sales data were supportive of our resilient U.S. economy theme. For the latest Bank of America Global Fund Manager Survey, 79% of investors currently anticipate a soft landing in the U.S. economy. As such, good news equals good news for markets and bad news equals bad news for markets, given that the latter would signal the Fed is even more behind the curve than it is already perceived to be. Recall that Eurozone core CPI has been sticky since April. Any amelioration of the stickiness or continued downside surprises in growth in the coming months would likely catalyze more aggressive policy rate easing to be priced into euro money markets, which would likely weigh on the euro-dollar cross. That would reduce pressure on European investors to close out carry trades in U.S. assets, a supportive dynamic for global asset markets. Transitioning to our 42 macro dashboard here. As always, we'll wrap up with the question from our community. This one's regarding taxes in a fourth turning. Says, hi, Skipper, do we typically see an increase in tax rates during a fourth turning? And so the answer is yes, but only after we've entered the climax phase of the fourth turning, which is the big main event, the catalyzing event of the fourth turning. If you go back in the last three fourth turnings, we had the Great Depression and World War II. We had the American Civil War. We had the American Revolutionary War. I'm going to say the War of Roses before that. So it's always going to be, and not always, but the total war is a high probability outcome. If there's not total war, there's usually some very large existential threat to democracy that causes the public sector to absorb a considerable degree of resources from the private sector in order to deal with that. And the private sector is obviously, two thumbs up on that because, again, it's an existential crisis. But before that, what we are likely to experience is more and more populism. And we talked about this through our various channels, most specifically in our macro scouting report, where we highlighted the likelihood that no matter who wins the upcoming election, it's highly likely to result in more populism. If the Democrats, they practice populism, really socialism, for the lower median of the household income distribution, and Republicans tend to practice socialism for the upper median of the household income distribution. And so with the sort of starting point of, sort of a very low level of household income as a share of national product and a national income, and a very high share of corporate profits as a share of national income and national GDP, then it's very likely that we're going to continue to get populist pressures from both sides of the aisles, such that we might wind up with, no matter who takes the White House or what the configuration is, if Trump wins, it's highly rumored to be a Republican sweep. If Kamala Harris wins, it's highly rumored to be a Democrat House, a divided government with a Democrat House, a Republican Senate, and obviously a Democrat executive branch. No matter what the configuration is, you should be expecting more populism. And I would argue you should probably be expecting the various chambers of governments to work together on producing more populist outcomes, because again, it's coming from both sides of the aisle. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It's a fourth turning thing prior to this, to the eventual climax that my former colleague and one of my mentors, Neil Howe, believes is likely to come later in this decade or in the early part of the 2030s. So wrap it up there. Darius Dell presenting our macro minute for Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Everyone have a wonderful day. Best of luck out there. We'll catch you back here tomorrow. Cheers.